Hello, friends. Mike Feeney here with the Union Labor Advisor Network, here for our ULA Network's podcast, where our mission is to support, educate, and promote union labor in our communities. Today, we're joined by two very important people from the International Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers, as well as Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers Local 1 in New York, Alex Jacoby, who's the Director of the Members Assistance Program, and Phil O'Connell, MAP Coordinator and Contact for BAC Local 1 here in New York. Today, we're talking about the Members Assistance Program, what MAP is, and who should be contacting these particular organizations. This is a very important topic, and I'm extremely proud to have both of you on here today. So, Alex, Phil, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. No, it's an important topic. I'm extremely excited to meet you, Alex, from the International. And Phil, I've known you for quite some time, doing some incredible work here in New York. But for Alex, maybe you can share your experience, who you are, how you got with the International, and what's going on at the MAP Court and with the International.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks again for having me. I'm so happy to be here today and to have the opportunity and the platform to promote, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but to me, what is the kind of premier and most important kind of conversation when we think about improving the lives of workers, certainly in New York and around the country, which is what we do. And so I'm Alex Jacoby. I am a licensed mental health professional, and I run our member assistance program here at the IU. It was a little bit of divine intervention with how I ended up at the IU and in this role, in that I had just moved to Washington, D.C. This was, I guess, going on a decade ago now, but just moved to Washington, D.C. to be a little bit closer to a lot of the activity happening, I guess, without kind of moving this conversation in a more political direction, but the world where I think there was more of an opportunity to use my voice in a way that I could advocate for and speak up for people who maybe didn't have the ability, and for any number of reasons, to do so for themselves. And so the union values, pro-worker values, are very, very deeply important to me. I could go into my whole kind of family history there as to why that is, but that would become a different podcast. But obviously came in already as a mental health professional and came to work with my predecessor, who retired 3 years ago now, in a really strong capacity and partnership to advocate for worker behavioral health and psychological safety. And so deeply, deeply important to me on a personal and obviously professional level.
Great. Thanks. Thank you, Alex. And then Phil, how about yourself? And how'd you get in touch with Local 1 and then really roll into being that lead for the local?
How'd I get in touch with Local 1? Well, I came in as an apprentice, right? I was out in the field. And then I had an opportunity come about where Jack Regilla, president, and Jonathan Housegrove and Tony LaCava gave me an opportunity to strive in what I take passion in doing. And that's helping others. I've built a lot of my support and what I do on a daily basis by trying to help the next person, right? So I have passion in this. And when the opportunity came, I ran with it, right? Mm-hmm. And they appointed me position to be the MAP director for New York. And I get the opportunity to work on a daily basis of trying to help other people. I did that without being in a career. And for it to be a career, like when someone says like, oh, I do something that I love, I actually am doing something that I love, that I take passion in. Like I said, like we talked briefly before the interview, and I told you the passion I have for this is that I was that member. I mean, my strongest credential is being that guy that hit a bottom, right? And not knowing which way to turn to, right? Being lost, very dark nights. And being able to find a solution. Right. I heard a reel just recently, and I'm kind of spiritual, and it was about God. Right. And God asked the guy asked God, why did I go through all that pain, all that darkness? And he felt God say, because when I send you back into the dark, how to get them out. And that's what kind of like the objective, the motive I take to get the momentum to help other people today.
Gotcha.
To do what I'm doing.
No, you're doing great work. I know you're out there, and you're seeing it with the International, with the locals, and even the councils now. Such a big focus. So it's exciting to have you both here. Really dive deeper into what these programs are and how members and families can have access to them. So let's just get started with the basics. A lot of members may have heard about the term MAP, but they might not fully understand what it is, who it's for, and when they should reach out. So Alex, maybe you can go over a little bit more detail what the Members Assistance Program is, why it was created, and who's eligible to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think to further complicate things, what a MAP is or a member assistance program is can mean something different at the local level than from what it means at the international level and across trades too. So I know some other trades have their iteration of a MAP or a member assistance program that looks maybe a lot different than ours looks. So that certainly probably does not do much for improving clarity or universal understanding for what a MAP is. Our MAP has been around. We take a lot of pride in the fact that we have been around for going on 30 years. We were the inception of our MAP at the IU, the Bricklayers IU, was in 1998. So our leadership at that time had the foresight and the understanding, kind of saw where worker health and safety protections were moving to evolve or grow past just physical health and safety, even at that time where it was really, really kind of undiscussed or under-discussed or just kind of not talked about. And there have been a number of iterations of MAP, our MAP, throughout those years to adapt and adjust for what the industry needed and called for, our membership needed and called for, given that long history at any given point in time. With that said, we only have ever had 2 directors. So my predecessor, who I referenced earlier, who retired a few years ago, and then myself. So there's definitely a lot of attachment to like there's not this, you're not in this role and I'll be here as long as they'll have me. I very much see myself, even though I am not a skilled trades worker, I've not worked in the field, I see myself and feel very much a part of the BAC family. And so with that said, our leadership at that time and have continued to see value in, and frankly see it as invaluable role for having an entire department dedicated to creating opportunities for members to get help where and when needed and creating that access where they may otherwise often not have it or not be, even if it is available to them in some kind of distant or third party kind of way, that there isn't that trust or that faith in those programs the way that there is because we have these kinds of relationships and develop and kind of grow these kinds of relationships that exist between the IU and the local over years and years and years. So we are a resource for all of our members, whether they are actively insured, uninsured, loved ones of our members. And I know that's a really kind of generic concept or term, but I think that speaks to how seriously we take and understand the importance of a family system in our members' lives or a loved one's lives. So they don't have to be like a declared dependent or spouse or married in order to qualify to utilize our services at MAP. If you are a loved one or somebody that is important to or a part of our members' kind of system or loved ones community, we are a resource for you as well. Active and retired members, anyone across the BAC family can access our resources independent of which local they're coming from and any other number of variables that for maybe insurance purposes or other programs might either include or exclude certain people based on, again, marital status or child by blood, or have you married into my family or anything like that. We don't discriminate in that regard. If you're a part of the BAC family, we help.
I gotcha. Yeah. And again, it's just for today too, is really making sure that people are aware that this program is available to them and then really understand, what issues should members or can members reach out to MAP from the international, the local side. What would they typically call? What's some of the issues they would call about or for?
So I'm really glad you asked that question because I think you had named it a few moments ago that there is a lot of attention on and a lot of focus on this kind of just general mental health right now and particularly around suicide prevention and opioid use disorders, substance use disorders, opioid overdose fatalities, just how the opioid epidemic has negatively impacted workers in construction. However, the majority of our members that we work with are typically not at that severe or crisis point. So when there is a lot of focus, I mean, absolutely, we have an ethical and moral and practical obligation to prevent death amongst workers in construction, obviously as gatekeepers in a sense in this capacity, and in worker health and safety and occupational health and safety, absolutely, to make sure we aren't seeing people lose their lives to diseases or deaths of despair. However, earlier intervention and the number of people that need support and help at such an earlier kind of stage before it worsens or severes or becomes a crisis is not only necessary or needed, but primarily the number of our members who utilize our services fall into that category. So anything, I mean, I tell this to members and locals when I'm promoting our program, our department, all the time. If there is anything negatively impacting your quality of life, independent of what it is, reach out. There is no such thing as discerning, this doesn't feel like it's severe enough or warrant a conversation. To be a human means you're coming up against really, even just at baseline, I mean, just independent of all the kind of unique, I don't know, global cascading crises that are kind of happening right now, and just so many other variables or considerations, just by being a human, facing things like sickness, chronic illness of a loved one, being a caregiver, being a parent, certainly being a parent. If you have a child facing any number of challenges that exist with growing up in 2026, bullying, harassment, any just caregiver fatigue at all, anything at all that's negatively impacting a member's quality of life would be an appropriate reason to reach out and connect with us.
That's great. And again, it seems like quasi HR or the issues, because, again, you're working independently when you're out on a job site, working with a whole bunch of different people. But then there are issues. I mean, again, family life, just stress, your body, the opioids. We know all the factors that we could talk about today, but just knowing that they have that particular call. So how does the MAP connect those members to the right professional resource? So like somebody calls up that 800 hotline, have issues with X, how do you direct them or navigate them into the right person for support?
So it's an interesting question, because in and of itself, so like the activity of care coordination is its own profession, or its own kind of like skilled, I guess, set of actions that are informed by a lot of training and take into consideration things around having expertise in navigating healthcare systems and levels of care, and being able to make assessments or evaluations around what the appropriate resource would be, or referral would be, or provider would be. All of that is its own kind of skilled, like there wouldn't necessarily be, I think, a straightforward or easy way to say, well, here's our process one by one. I think the same way that for any kind of skilled work or skilled trade, like it wouldn't be as straightforward as, well, first I take this step and then I do that. The sum really is greater than its parts when we are working on a case or with a member and trying to help them improve their outcomes or their circumstances. And that could range the entire spectrum. Maybe in an initial call, it really just looks like instilling some hope for that particular member for any number of reasons. Maybe they aren't ready to, if professional care or further treatment is indicated or needed. However, there's barriers in place, could be any number of barriers, including just internalized stigma or shame, unwillingness to seek professional help at that point. My number one goal is to make sure that any member that we talk to leaves that conversation, that initial conversation and subsequent conversations, feeling more hopeful and more positive about the future and their trajectory than they did when they first got in touch. And so with that said, it's just highly, highly concierge, highly, highly dependent on the needs of that particular member, and our ability to assess that or evaluate that has to do with our training and backgrounds.
Thanks, Alex. And then another question too is from a confidentiality standpoint, what does it mean in practice for a member who may be just nervous about calling reaching out to the local, say, I don't feel right. Is this going to affect my job, affect what's going on with my benefits, my employer? Like, how does that work from a confidentiality standpoint?
Yeah, it's a critically important question because it speaks to the underlying issue of the amount of shame and stigma that still very much exists. I mean, we're making progress. We've made a ton of progress, but we're nowhere where we need to be in terms of more just universal or widespread acceptance around the fact that humans struggle, humans face challenges all the time. Again, as I said a moment ago, simply just by being human in and of itself at baseline, we are fighting a huge uphill battle. And so we're still at a place, I think, generally speaking, across our industry where we moralize that, we don't have a lot of, at least, explicit acceptance around that. And so a lot of people carry that. And I can't tell you the number of conversations I've had with members that kind of started with something to the effect of, you're not going to tell anyone, right? Or this isn't going to get back to my field rep, right? Or where does this information go? Like those, it's just very, very explicitly clear that there's a lot of anxiety and hesitation around disclosing, even if they do take that step to reach out for help to ensure that their information is protected. With that said, and I think this is one of the many benefits of having been around a really long time and having earned a really strong and solid reputation within our union, is that we have a well-established precedent for maintaining that confidentiality. So our local leaders know if they refer somebody to us and they call back the next day and say, hey, by the way, did so-and-so call? They know. I mean, that doesn't really happen because they know and understand we do not disclose. Even I don't know I don't know the name that you're talking about. In any case, even if I had worked very closely and intimately with that member and on that case and plan to continue to, there isn't even disclosure as to whether or not that person called, let alone what was discussed. And we take that very, very seriously, both directly with the member and communicating that with the member, but as well on the back end, just in terms of our protocols and processes.
Perfect. Alex, thank you. And Phil, when we look at the union, the local side, why is it important that members know MAP is available before they even reach a crisis point? And I know that's something that now that you're in your particular role, are working diligently on to really make sure that everybody is aware of this program.
Well, it's great to make the members alert about the MAP program, because my understanding, what I believe in it, is that whether it be addiction or mental illness, it's a progressive thing. So something that might start so small, right, if it's not treated, will progress to something worse. It progresses. I can just speak from experience that as somebody who used substances to cope, it progressed, right? And the more it progressed, the more the substances came into play, and the more the emotions came into play, right? And then I felt lost, right? So it's good to let them be alert of how it could start, how addiction, how something so small, it might start with not being able to sleep, right? Mental illness. I may not be able to sleep tonight, right? Might sleep the next night, right? Then it might progress to more nights of not sleeping, right? Because whatever you're feeling inside. And the truth be told is, like, what I believe is that I believe addiction, substance abuse is just a solution to whatever you feel. So if I'm feeling something that I don't want to deal with, right, I need to numb myself. And just to let them learn. They may not know that. They may not know they're drinking because they don't like what they're feeling, right? And just to bring awareness to them, promote that program, let them know. And like I said, my strongest credential is being that guy, being that member, being able to relate. I feel comfortability by speaking to another member is where you're going to get the better results.
And Phil, what do you think? I mean, in regards to changing that culture, like toughing it out, to look out for one of each other, or what are some of the warning signs that a coworker, apprentice, or friend may realize to be struggling?
When I'm teaching or instructing a class or whatever, I tell the members all the time, right? Some of these guys you work with, you see them more than you see your own family. You could be with them hours at a time. So how they come to work. Right? If they come to work a week straight, upbeat, happy, and then the next day they come and you could just tell. I can tell you right now, with my daughter, like, I know when something's wrong instantly, right? I see her, I can tell by her body language, her facial reactions, that something's bothering her, right? And it's how you present that, right? How do you approach somebody that, right? Especially with construction men, we're supposed to be these alpha men, these big, strong men. We're not supposed to talk about our feelings, supposed to hide it, right? That's the dynamic of the culture that has been going on for many years. So to break that, I always say, like, that's why I like to go to the apprentice school. Right? I like to talk to the younger generation. You know, one of the slogans we use is "It's not weak to speak," right?
Yeah.
Try to talk to them. And I see more with the younger crowd that they're more involved, right? They want to know about this. I don't know if it's just the dynamic of how they were brought up was a little differently than maybe the older men. Or like I hit that borderline where like I was that guy. Like I came into an environment where you don't share what you feel. You hide that. Don't speak about it. And as you harden and let the more builds, right? It's like a volcano. And then one day it just explodes.
Like, how would you approach somebody without making them feel judged, especially in the field?
What are you talking about?
Noticing what's going on.
Right? I'm strong on how you approach somebody's how to say something, right? So it's a little something like how you doing today, right? A little basic way to just start a conversation, right? How you doing today? Like you don't want to come over and act like a therapist and be like, oh, something bothering you? What's going on, right? You want them to feel comfortable to be able to open up and speak to you, right? I always say body language. Come over, not hands in your pocket, look them eye to eye, show like a concern. I think there's like 75% of communication is body language. So if I'm going to come over and I'm going to have my hands down or my hands in my pocket, my head down, right? The approach is wrong. I truly believe it's about making the other person comfortable to be able to speak to you, right? And but if you could get them open up to speak, I truly believe that anybody with, because I was that guy with addiction or mental illness, they always feel isolated. They always feel like they're the only person going through this. My biggest slogan was like, you don't understand when someone tried to help me. You don't understand what I'm feeling. But the fact is that people go through things every day. There's people that just react differently to every situation. So if someone comes, if I approach somebody and I get them to open up, right? I just like to let them know that, listen, I understand, right? When someone comes and talks to me, I tell them there's nothing you're going to tell me that's going to surprise me. And that's bringing the comfortability up out of them so they could be able to speak to you. You want to open up that door. So I'm sorry.
Speaking of opening up that, I don't know if the door actually.
Yeah, literally someone opening up the door. You open the door for somebody, they're here.
Yeah. So that's how I feel, right? That's the approach that was brought upon me. Just try to make someone feel comfortable. I had somebody that was able to ease me into like able to see things. Because when I came in, you get aggressive. Right? You don't want to admit what you're feeling. You don't want to, if it's substance abuse, you don't want to admit that you got a substance abuse problem. There's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of shame to that. There's a lot of people think I'm different, right? If I'm depressed and I'm the only person feeling, why am I going to share about it? How are you going to look at me if I tell you that I'm depressed, that I'm not able to sleep because of anxiety? How are you going to look at me if I'm telling you that I drink on a daily basis? Judgment, fear, it all stems from that.
Yeah.
So to just bring an approach upon a member that's going through something like that you're able to say to them, listen, I've been there. I've been through that. And to listen, right? Try not to interrupt. Let them speak. And like I said, body language, just like act like you're receiving everything they're saying to you and what they're feeling.
Is it okay if I add to Phil's point?
Alex, come on. We're talking here.
All right.
Conversation.
I'm just still like hung up on Phil's sound effects, like just the timely.
At the door.
And that's another thing. Like for me, like Alex has been a big mentor and a big resource for me. As far as like we have a meeting once a month and we bet to snowball things off each other and communicate. And that's been something that's been helping me through building this program and even things on a daily basis, just being able to communicate with somebody that could relate. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's actually that relate point is what the point I really wanted to emphasize or come back to. Obviously, there are best practices and kind of how to approach people versus how not to approach people. But I think the thing that sometimes gets lost in this conversation is really like the sum is greater than its parts. It really is a sincerity component. It's an authenticity component. It's a person's ability to detect or sense that somebody is coming to them in good faith and their care and concern. And there aren't always the right words or script for that. It really is a relationship thing. And I think this comes back to why it's so critically important that as an industry, we keep confronting the shame and stigma piece, because until we address our own internalized kind of stigmas and myths and incorrect beliefs around what it means to have these types of challenges, it's going to be really hard to show up in those kinds of conversations in authentic, sincere, good faith. And to me, I think that's the biggest thing. People can sense, you might not always know the right thing to say. A lot of times there isn't the right thing to say. I think if there was a perfect script, we would all, as just a humankind, have it memorized by now, and we wouldn't have problems. It doesn't always exist. But that human connection piece, that intimacy, like I see you, and it's not because of my words or my behaviors. It's like in my heart is coming through. My heart sees your heart. As cliche as I know that might sound, is a really big part of establishing trust and safety in those moments, helping people feel or trust that you aren't there to judge them, to talk them, any of that you're there because you give a crap.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Alex, I know you mentioned, like a union been in the field. We work for the international, we work for these locals, supporting the members, and it is family to me as well. Almost 30 years working within the unionized construction trades as well as public sector. This is family. And we do, and Phil, like you mentioned, you see some of the members more than you do like your old friends growing up from the neighborhood. So you're seeing them every day, and you could see some of those particular struggles, or people do open up to when you have that relationship. And to know that an organization has your back and is looking out for your best interests and has these numbers or resources to utilize. This is what the ULA Network is all about too, is making sure that people understand the resources they have to support them as a union member, as well as their families. And I think being a part of a union organization, they are looking out for your best interests in many ways. And to have this particular support network from a national level, international level, and then how it's broken down into regions so that you can really feel connected with that member is so critical. And it's a differentiating factor, I believe, from union and non-union, and what you're actually getting as a dues paying member of part of a bigger organization, rounding out all those particular benefits that you have. And it's incredible to see. And again, it's moving like mountains essentially. But like now, as you start to bring it down and organize from the grassroots onto the ground, that's where we start to see this impact.
Yeah.
And Phil, I know we'll bring this up too, is like the New York Building Trades, the peer support network that were rolled out this year. What we've heard about it and coming together over the past couple of years, I'll bring this in, is that there's an important larger effort happening in New York through the Building Trades Peer Support Network in collaboration with Cornell's International, the Building Construction Trades Council of Greater New York, local unions, MAP directors, and the New York Building Foundation. The message behind this effort is powerful. It's not weak to speak. And Phil, maybe you can just jump in a little bit more about that, like what's been going on. I know you've been part of that task force and that group.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting to see, because this is an area I want to be involved in. I have family with mental health, issues, some families with suicide. Like, this is a major impact, and we need to make sure that we get this out to the masses. So, Bill, what do you got?
Let me start with it's been an honor to be part of that.
Yeah.
To work with other MAP directors from other locals, to have the building trades involved, and to also be instructed by the people of Cornell, right? It's been a complete honor, and to be part of something that it will be so big. I truly believe that. When we look at it, 5,000 suicides within all the trades in New York City on a yearly basis, average, right? And that's not talking about the overdoses and substance abuse. So for the building trades to react on something like that, right? To have a program developed where you have a peer on a job site, right? Like we talked earlier about, the dynamic of a construction guy is isolation, I feel. I'm not going to talk. I'm going to hold those feelings in, right? We felt that it's easier to go to a peer, speak to a peer, right? they may be going to a BA, a shoppy, foreman, site safety. It might be easier to just have a peer there, right? And now the peer job is to be on the site and just try to interact, right? Like when we just talked about briefly about interaction, right? And this is things they were instructed on how to approach a situation, right? And how to determine what degree it's at, right? Whether it's severe, medium, or low, right? People say things in the heat of the moment. We can't take that and run with it. But if someone's on the job site threatening to hurt themselves, then yeah, that's immediate action. We need to help this person, right? And there could be just something as something say like just quoting something. My kids are better without me. We talk about the daily stress of people, just human nature, right? We're in an industry where layoffs come, right? Jobs ending, layoffs coming. So your stress could cause, right? I have a mortgage, I have kids to raise, I have this, right? And to have maybe a peer to be on the job site, to maybe if someone's going through something like that, and that's just an example, right? There could be 100 other examples of why somebody's not in the right headspace or choose to do substances or whatever they choose to do, right? And just to have someone there, right? And to make it aware to the other members on the job sites that there's a guy here. He has a stick on his hard hat. He's a peer, right? You could talk to him. And then he's the bridge to get him to us, the MAP program, the clinical director, and then we could get him the proper resources of help, the right channels to get the help.
Yeah.
Right? It's just another weapon we have to help members, along with the MAP program and having all these resources being established where we can help these guys.
No, I see it. And Alex, I got a question for you too. Is like in regards to peer support and then members assistance support, how do they complement each other? Well, and I know you went into it a little bit, Phil, but maybe you could elaborate, Alex, on from an international standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a number of points that Phil, I think, touched on that are so critically important. Primarily the visibility component. It's one thing, and this is where maybe I'm a little biased as well in being in-house with the bricklayers versus some vendor that's just, you're just another client of mine with all these other people, and some are construction or some are not. Like, I'm in-house with the bricklayers. And with that said, my department can only be in so many places at once. If we're just a number or a QR code in a Port-John or up on the job site somewhere, that level of visibility is certainly important, but it's not going to have the same impact as a testament to or a person-to-person referral to. In a lot of ways, when I talk about and promote peer support programs across all of our local, it's my vision and goal and hope that every single one of our locals, and certainly at the council level or state building trades level, kind of takes action in the way New York has around just mobilizing and organizing across the trades, so that we all have this pipeline to, or this pathway to, professional help where and when needed, especially when it does exist in this way. Somebody that's going to go above and beyond for you. I will talk to a member 3 hours a day for 2 weeks straight, if that is what is needed to help us get to the next step or the next point. Maybe an outside party or a vendor, not to say that there aren't folks, or I guess sometimes what are described as augmented EAPs that don't care on that level, but it's a different kind of intimacy or familiarity or care or concern. And so being able to develop, having that access, being in-house, being able to develop relationships with folks, obviously with Phil and folks like Phil, doing work like Phil on the local level, to be able to strengthen that pipeline to professional help where and when needed is critical. That we're stronger in numbers, we're stronger when we have each other's back, we give a shit about each other, we look out for one another. And we can't say that in practice, or that in theory, without delivering it in practice, or we can't say it about all these other things or in all these other ways, but then turn our backs when it comes to the most critical piece of all, when people really need help and support the most, in this way that we're talking about. So
yeah, and again, my career, my work with the locals really works through some of the training centers. I get on occasion onto some of the job sites to see the development, but seeing the next generation of skilled trades men and women working through the apprenticeship facility, learning their craft, and then getting out in the field. I'm seeing the apprenticeship groups create those mentorships so that they get a mentor so that they can understand the flow, because it's not easy. This is not an easy profession. And as an apprentice, you're not making that journeyman's rate yet. So you're still growing into into your status or your career. But as you're an apprentice, you're learning all these other things, your craft, site safety, all the different safety pieces as well. Phil and Alex, maybe both, because Alex, you may know from an international standpoint, Phil, with Local One, do they integrate some of the MAP or educational resources that MAP provides in site safety or the safety culture as a union member in training?
I just recently I went to a job site where one of my peers were on. So I went down. I spoke to site safety. I spoke to supervisor from Nicholson and Galloway, Zach. And I was able to sit there. We sat in the shanty and we had a conversation. Right? We talked about the peer-to-peer program. We talked about the MAP program. We talked about the members. And their appreciation and understanding for it was remarkable. They want to know about it. They were curious about it. The site safety already speaks about it on a daily basis with his foremans. So it's out there, right? The building trades and the MAP program and all this has really brought great attention to the mental illness and substance abuse today within the locals. And I feel like this is just the start of it. I truly believe it's going to grow, and it's going to be a strong thing we're going to have with our members and being able to help and possibly save lives.
Yeah. Is this a conversation as an apprentice they get information or educated on?
As an apprentice, yeah. We at the school, we do the SST. We talk about the drugs and alcohol, which now is the mental illness part, 2-hour part of mental illness. We did put some substance abuse in it. The curriculum was made by Cornell also, and it's going to be taught for the 2-hour mental illness part. So there's a lot of awareness being brought to it. And me personally, I get to work with apprentices.
Yeah.
Part of my job is I get to take them with me sometimes, and I have conversations with these kids, and I talk to them. I get a feel for them. I like to know what they're going through. How do they feel, right? You're about to go on a job site. Your whole life's about to change. You're about to start a career. What is it how do you feel about it? Most of them excited, some are nervous, or not knowing what to expect, but I get to be there and show support, right? And give them a little of what my experience was like as coming in as a first year apprentice or a second year, third year, or fourth year, right? Yeah. What to expect. And I get to give them advice, which is strong. And being in the position I'm in with the MAP program, it's kind of like we talk about our union, right? We dynamic of a sisterhood and brotherhood here, right? And I say all the time, so if you had a sibling, right, that was going through something, you would go to any length, right, to try to help them. Well, it's no different here. That's what we want to stress, right? And to let them know that, right, to let these kids, the apprentices, or the journeymen, to know that we're here for each other, right? We're here to support you. We're here we have your back, right? You're not going to lose your job. We're going to do everything in our ability to try to help you. And to let the apprentices know this too. Right? So you see that when you talk to them, they start getting a comfortable feeling. They start getting that vibe. Oh, this is like a brotherhood, a family. And then I know that the instructors at the school and Al, they stress that to them, that they're there. When they'll go to any lengths to try to help any of them.
Absolutely.
I would just quickly add, if I can, so New York City in particular is in this unique position. I believe it was the first, to my knowledge, city to pass legislation that mandated behavioral health awareness and training to include substance use awareness and training into site safety trainings. But is it in, I don't know if, do you know or not, I don't know the answer to this, but registered apprenticeship programs or trainings in it, or is it?
Yeah, well, they get their certifications.
Yeah.
So the drug, it used to be drug and alcohol, 2-hour part, but now it's mental illness.
Yeah.
And then they do the scaffolding. So they're getting their certifications. So it is brought upon them, and they are alert, taught about substance abuse and mental illness.
And then they have to get recertified every 5 years?
Your SSTs every 5 years.
Okay.
Every 5 years you come back, you take your SST, and part of the SST is the 2-hour mental illness part now.
So it helps when by law you have to just for compliance have to, like, you're required to do it.
Yeah.
But I think especially in our union across the country, there's leadership buy-in. So even without that legislation, I think Washington State was now then just the first state that required, I don't know if it goes into, I think it goes into effect next summer, but they did pass the legislation that they are requiring 2 hours of behavioral health training into every registered apprenticeship program across the state, which is critical. But I think there is a difference between kind of checking a box and saying, okay, we did it because we have to do it, and saying we're talking about this because we really give a shit and we know how real this is for our membership and how seriously these types of issues impact our membership and what the behavioral health outcomes have looked like, diseases of despair, deaths of despair, as I talked about earlier, across our industry. And that's something that we are super serious about changing and making a shift on, or a turnaround on.
Bringing light to this and to all our viewers that these programs are here to help support your well-being and your best interest, and it's okay to be fearful. You got to make that phone call. Your brothers and sisters are here to help you. And again, I'm just so privileged and thankful to know you, Phil, and Alex, to know you exist and you're there with the International. Proud to know some leadership. Proud to work with Local One and Jack and Jonathan, Tony for some time now. And just seeing the love and passion that they have for their membership and well-being and the growth of their organization is just really exciting to be a part of.
Yeah.
Did we miss anything? Alex, anything that you want to leave from the International, from the MAP program, what you have out there? Anything that's out there? I got a banner here. I want to put something out here.
I know. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, the thing that I can't emphasize more strongly is that if there is anything I can even remotely do that's within my power to help our members feel better about the direction of their lives, I will do it. I will facilitate that process. I pour my heart and soul into it. And our members are never, ever, 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 ever alone. And that's my resounding message. And the things that are happening now in the ground, in the field, the types of work that Phil is leading, I just hope that just continues to emphasize and grow that message, that people not just hear it and it feels like kind of a throwaway sentiment, but that it feels real and palpable to them. So hopefully that's come across in our conversation today. There's so much more we could talk about, I know, and I'm sure, but I'll just leave it there.
Bill, what do you got? Anything for you?
I got just the snowball of what Alex said. You just to be of service to the members is the passion that I take in this, and we talked about earlier about having that passion in something that you do, and not being here as someone who could pass judgment on somebody, but someone that could be sincere with somebody and understand what they're going through, right? And developing a program where I can have the ability to do that with a member. We live in New York City. These guys are part of building the greatest city in the world. To me, they're celebrities.
Yeah.
I mean, you walk down the streets in New York City and you look up, and just to know that we have members that have been part of that building something like that, and we'll continue to be part of building this city, right? So So I want to show their value to them if they don't see it.
Yeah, well, that's our job right now, is to showcase the quality, craftsmanship, and work that unionized construction workers can build within our communities and our cities. And then the pay scale, and as well as the overall rounded benefits that you have and the services that you both provide are really making a difference in the quality of life for these union members with the bricklayers, with the International and the locals and the region. So again, I just want to thank you both for everything that you're doing. It's so important and relevant. And I'm just proud to know you both. To every BAC member and family member listening, you're not alone. You do not have to wait until something becomes a crisis. Support is available through the International's MAP program. And if you or somebody is in an immediate crisis in the United States, call or text 988 for the suicide crisis line. Or for confidential support with BAC members and families, you can call 1-833-MAP-TALK, and that is 1-833-627-8255. To every union brother and sister on the job site, sometimes the most powerful thing you could do is ask, listen, and help somebody take that next step. So it's really important. And again, I just want to thank you. I'm excited to know you both, and we're going to do great things together in the coming months and years. And make sure we get this information out there to the masses.
And
So thank you.
Likewise, Mike. Thank you so much. Thank you both so much.
thank
You got it.
And,
You got
Mike, thank you for the platform.
I'd like to thank all our sponsors for helping to build and promote the ULA Network. It is because of you that we're able to support, educate, and promote informative content relevant to labor. Please subscribe, like, and share our channel and media. I'd like to thank you all for your support.